Hello, everyone. Autumn here, back with another arts interview. And today we are interviewing my friend Marty. Let's get started. Alrighty, please go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
My name is Marty Martin. I go by the moniker Doctor Geek Nerd. Um, I am a musician, CG artist. My chosen vocation is I call myself a tinkering bohemian, which means I work on what I want to work on when I feel like working on it. I'm currently the governance chair of a not-for-profit organization called All Those Creative. And this is our second year running with that organization.
Absolutely fantastic. So, yeah, you're versatile. Will you explain really quick what All Those Creative does in the community?
The mission is to be to sorry, did you guys hear that? Okay.
You're
Um,
good.
okay. Um, the mission is to be inclusive and diverse and to inspire community amongst creatives in a time especially where people are kind of afraid of losing their free speech or having their free speech impeded.
Absolutely.
The best thing to do in a situation like this is for any group of people is to find your community. And so what we do is we try to provide an area of creatives to feel safe and supported and try to provide them platforms to feel inspired. So often we'll have speakers come in and um, talk about their successes and how they got there and um, share their story uh, with people who are maybe struggling or looking to change
Yeah.
a, um, a career, go from say the programmer to a more creative career because they're not getting what they want out of creative design or something like that. So.
Absolutely. I like you already mentioned in a period where it seems to be the most sensitive that maybe it's ever been and
Mm.
most at risk. I think that that's incredibly important. And you guys are obviously doing amazing work to help bring people together in that way and inspire. And the speaker route really isn't that different from why I have my arts interview series and why I've been doing it for so long. But I want to know, as the governance chair, what's your specific job? What does that look like in your day to day?
Well, my most probably important responsibility with as the governance chair for an organization like this is to make sure everyone's following the bylaws. Slap them on the wrist if like someone makes a motion to do something that is like, no, that's against our bylaws, and those bylaws are there for a reason to keep us in line, to keep us in check. Um, if you talk to the president and the vice president of the organization, which is currently Kayla DeZombo and Nicole Burrows, they'll tell you that my most important job is to vet potential new board members because um, making sure that I'll go and interview them, make sure they are who they say they are, and get a feel on whether they're a good cultural fit for our organization.
Absolutely. So you are the ultimate prophecy keeper in a way, which makes you sound a lot like a knight. You're like the most important knight, arguably. And then you're also like you make sure that new leadership that comes in is legit. And that's incredibly important. But I want to hear
Well,
now.
it certainly sounds more interesting than what I explained, but yeah, sure.
I prefer to put it in a medieval sense. I think it sounds really cool.
Okay.
Yeah. But I want to hear more because, as you mentioned before, governance chair and your important position, musician, CG artist, tinkering bohemian, as you put it naturally. I want to hear more about how you got into those art forms, what that journey looked like for you, and how you've continued today.
Okay, let's see. How far back in time should I take you? Um,
I'm looking for lore, Marty. Don't hold back.
oh, okay. Oof. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that I usually hold back on with because I sound crazy when I start talking about it.
Okay, noted.
Um, let's go back to high school, more high school. Um, I just moved into more seventh grade, so I lost all my grade school friends. So I was going into high school not knowing anyone. I made friends fast, and Christopher McKenzie, um, on like the first week of school, made real good friends with me, and he invited me to go join the choir. Um, so this was middle school. Sorry, farther back than high school, middle school. Um, and yeah, I stayed in choir throughout my entire high school career. And I also played guitar. Um, all the men in my family play guitar going all the way back to my great grandfather. My great great grandfather played fiddle, which I also then eventually picked up. But we'll get into that here in a minute. Let's see. Um, so I went in, graduating high school. I went to Rose State College. Um, and the advisor there was on his way out. I was seeing him on his last day, and he could care less what I did.
Wow.
So he went through the playbook of all the classes I should be taking in the 2 year thing. Now, anyone that's gone to college knows that that list of things is crazy. So what I ended up having, and no one told me this, 19 hours for those first 2 semesters each. No one told me that I could take less.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And so yeah, I was nailed down. I was 19, almost 20 hours, in some cases.
Yeah.
And also, I had a part-time job. My first part-time job out of high school was for the post office, working part-time. Now, back in those days, the post office defined, and I think by law, the state defined part-time as not 40 hours. So 39 and a half hours
Oh,
on top of the
okay.
19 hours of school I was taking. So after that first year in May, so I start in fall, first year school year goes by, it's May, I'm burned out.
Yeah.
And my grades are suffering. So I go have a discussion with like the dean of whatever. And I'm basically told that I'm just not smart enough to go be in college. So uh so that devastated me. I was wrecked. So I tried a few different things. Stayed on at the post office for a little bit. Didn't feel like that was for me. Then I became a private investigator for a while, because I was very young looking and I didn't look like a cop. A lot of private investigators back then tried to look and act like cops, and so for professional reasons. So I would get hired a lot of times to find people because people would talk to me.
We have to pause there though,
Okay.
because private investigator really came out of nowhere for me, and I just have to take a moment. All right, you can
Okay.
proceed. That's
Okay.
all
Yeah,
I
so I
need.
did that for a while. So my
Okay.
specialty was finding people in a world before Google.
Wow.
Yeah, so uh and what it was is like, yeah, I would just go talk to people and people would talk to me that they wouldn't talk to people who look like cops.
Yeah.
Um so did that for a while. Um I got blacklisted from being a PI. There was a case that I would not take for deep ethical reasons. There was a So back in those days, you couldn't become a private investigator and just open up your own agency. There was a
Sure.
stipulation in the law that said you had to work for a private investigating agency before you can establish your own independent one.
Okay.
This was something that the lobbyist for the private investigator industry had kind of come up with, because the idea was they don't have to hire any new private investigators. They can just have them come in and work by contract. And that's what I did. I would just go
Oh,
work per contract for any gig. Um, so there was a case that happened. where a person wanted to hire the agency to send someone onto a high school campus and place a teddy bear and an envelope into a locker. Um, so this person was in custody at the Oklahoma City jail. So me being a fairly experienced private investigator, it didn't take long for me to find out that that person was in there for sexual assault
Mm.
of a minor.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a lot of figuring out that this is intimidation. So a lot of predators will try to intimidate their victims. This was one of them, and I wouldn't take the case. And the guy was willing to pay a lot of money. And I was told if I didn't take the case, I would be blocked. The agency was going to call all the other agencies and tell them never to hire me again.
Wow.
So I got blacklisted because I refused to take the case. Around that time, I was kind of bummed out about everything that was kind of going on. And I met some friends that were going to UCO at one of the bars up there. I don't even remember which one. And it turned out a lot of those guys were the stunt, or some of those guys were like the stunt performers over at Frontier City. One of them was the stunt captain. And they invited me to come and join the show.
Okay. I'm
Um,
following.
Okay, and so yeah, it didn't take very much to learn. I was already studying martial arts on my own, so
Gotcha.
I was physically fit. I could handle the injuries and stuff like that. So
Go you.
uh, yeah, and I guess that was 3 years, 2 or 3 years, and by that last year, I was the stunt captain. So I was helping to write the shows, cast the shows, and directing the shows.
Hmm.
Um, and then I left that. So right about that time is where I start to get into conflict with the producers of the show about like feeling exploited and maybe not appreciated.
Fair.
And I did some reflection and like, you know what, I've done all these different things uh, since I was told that I wasn't smart enough to be in college. Maybe that was one person's opinion and not actual fact. And so I went back to school, Rose State College, re-enrolled. Took way less, stuck to 12 hours.
Great call.
Because now I know that I don't, and
Uh-huh.
it takes as long as it takes, right?
Right.
Um, and so in that period, I joined the Student Senate, got a tuition waiver, so I didn't have to pay for most of my school there.
Yeah.
I learned started taking violin lessons because my ultimate goal was to I wanted to be the next John Williams.
Yeah.
So I there wasn't any like at the time music composition for film didn't exist anywhere in the state that I knew of.
Yeah.
So I was taking music theory, and taking violin, and I took a part-time job in what was at the time, it's now the film lab, right? It's now the film part of Rose State College. At the
Yeah.
time, it was called the broadcast lab, and that's where most of the local news people they would poach people from the broadcast lab at Rose State College.
Okay.
So I got a part-time job there, and my job was to facilitate the hardware part of it for students and faculty.
Okay.
So if they wanted to come in and cut something together, I would show them the editing bay. I would show them the digital editing um, system that we had at the time,
Yeah.
which came with a 3D software package called Lightwave 3D, which I had to learn in order to teach it. Mind you, I'm a student employee still. I'm not,
Sounds like a lot of unpaid features of your job.
yes. But it helps that turns out I had an aptitude for editing.
Okay.
So the Skip, what was his name? The teacher of the broadcast lab at the time wanted me to come work because of that. So I had an aptitude for editing and I had an aptitude um, uh, for CG work. I understood the software pretty quick. Um, and that remember, I'm only there to learn the technical part of stuff so I can be a composer.
Yeah.
Um, so I do that for a while, and then I graduate there with a degree in vocal performance because that was chosen as my primary instrument. I later switched to violin when I went to OU.
Makes sense.
So to get into the composition program at OU, I put together a short movie that I shot using the broadcast lab equipment and the 3D software, and I composed a score along that thing. It's a terrible movie and it's so cheesy and it's campy, but
Cute.
it wasn't there was enough going on in that score for the professor to say, okay, he can compose. And um and I think the most I had to do to really there was one professor on the board, selection board that was like, I don't know, please have him come by my office. And I go to his office. He hands me a piece of paper and said, do a analysis of this piece. It's one sheet of music. And this is not unusual. If you have gone through the first 2 years of music theory, you can look at something and write, okay, this is theme one, theme two, transition, key change, development section, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I do that for him. It takes me 10, 15 minutes, I think.
Okay.
Mostly because he was on the phone with somebody, and once I was done, I had to wait for him to finish. He looked at it, and then he didn't really even like grade it or examine it too far. He saw the marks that I made, and they were like, that looks right. Okay. It was enough for me to know, for him to know, it's like, okay, I knew what I was talking about, and like,
Right.
all right, you're in. Uh, so um, I graduate OU because of all the violin classes I took. I turned out I was double majoring. I didn't know it.
What?
It's yeah, I had enough because because with violin, you need to with any instrument,
Hmm.
right? You need so many hours of lessons and so many hours of live performance, and
Okay.
you also need to have so many uh um critique boards, like end of the year performances in front of like it's basically American Idol, but with meaner professors.
How
Mean,
exciting.
yeah. Uh, so I had all those credits.
Yeah.
And so while I was wrapping up getting my degree in music composition, I was also wrapping up my final credits for violin, which I had no idea that I was doing. So when I go in for the grade check, Susie Broach was my academic advisor at the time. She's looking at it and says, Marty, you could walk away with 2 degrees. It's like, I what? And she says, yeah, you could walk away with a violin degree also. And I'm like, well, when I told her, it's like, if I ask for a violin degree, it makes it sound like I'm good at violin, which I am not. I just know a lot about it and I can play it and I can compose for it, but I'm not good at it. And her response was, yeah, but you paid for it. It's like, done, we're in. Okay, 2 degrees it
Easy.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I graduate from there
Mhm.
and I do a few freelance uh, stunt gigs after college, a couple of acting gigs, do a couple of freelance CG gigs because at the time, um, like it's now like now you can like search the internet. There's somebody that can do CG work for you or After Effects work. At the time, there was maybe 5 people. You can count them on one hand. Um, so I do the to kind of showcase what I could do. I make this short animated movie called Captain Awesome, and I send it to Dead Center. And it's all CG. It's character animated. It's not too long after The Incredibles is out. Like people know who The Incredibles are, so
Okay.
people are already like, okay, this is a thing that. But uh, so I put that in. So that make it does well. They pull me out of shorts. I get an email saying they pulled me out of shorts and they've moved me over to the featurettes. And I get alarmed because I told them it's like, man, my movie is only like 3 minutes long. I don't want people going in there thinking that it's a feature-length movie and it's not. And I told them it was a mistake. So
Hmm.
I called Dead Center. I think Sarah was still the programmer at that time, and she's like, "No, trust us. We've put it between two featurettes. It works fine." And they were right. They did it for programming reasons, but it did end up like more people coming to see my movie than what I was expecting. So,
Ah,
um, and then not long after that, my wife gives me a daughter, and so I decide to retire myself from all that stuff and just be a stay-at-home dad for a while. Um, but then uh, I get a call from Apple corporate because they're opening a brand new Apple store in Penn Square Mall. And they sent a headhunter out into Oklahoma. And through all the calls and contacts that he made, I was recommended from, because we skipped over this. I had a part-time job at OU in the IT department,
okay.
and it was repairing computers. And
Got
I
it.
was the only Mac person because at that time there was an active movement to stamp out Apple computers
Oh,
by one IT director.
how'd that go?
It didn't work. A lot of professors there, like that love Apple computers, were like, you can pry it out of my dead cold hands before I give it up." So I was the only person that handled Apple computers at the time, and was like,
Word.
anyway, when they sent the headhunter down, he got in touch with his contacts at OU, and everyone pointed to me, and they invited me to come interview for a position at Apple. So I just worked. I told him I wasn't interested in being like a full-time thing because I was a stay-at-home dad and trying
Yeah.
to take care of my daughter and my mother-in-law who was ailing. So at that time she was in hospice at our house. So I was taking care of both of them. And it's like I just can't do a full-time job.
No.
Um, and when my mother-in-law passed and my daughter was a little bit older, they asked me to come work full-time. So they sent me out to Apple Corporate to do the Genius training and full-on repair. So I continued. I was at Apple for about 8 years, I think. Um,
Long time.
does that sound right? That can't be right. I might be a little less. I might be remembering wrong. Anyway, at that time, another company has gotten a contract to work with OU just for Apple repairs,
Hmm.
and they poached me from Apple.
Okay.
And then from there, OU sees that I am handling all their contracts for repair work because they are based in Louisville, Texas.
Oh,
And so I'm the one handling all those contracts. So
good
they,
grief.
yeah. And my responsibility has actually opened up at some point where I'm also managing the warehouse for deployment and all that other stuff. So OU poaches me from that company because it's going to be cheaper for them to hire me on salary
Sure.
and not pay these ridiculous three or four contracts that I'm handling for them.
Touche.
So, and then that turns into a lawsuit between OU and that company because the company says I'm costing them $500,000 annually by stealing me away.
Whoa.
Uh, and so there was a whole big legal thing. Anyway, OU wins,
Mhm.
or they settle out. OU convinces them to settle out for reasons. Um, and yeah, that's where I am right now. During all that time, my wife passes away in 2020. She was diagnosed stage 4 cancer in August,
Mm.
and come October, she contracts COVID.
Mm.
Now, this is before there is a vaccine for it. So,
Right.
I don't know if you remember at that time, if you had any pre-existing condition, um, you weren't coming out of the hospital. And that's exactly what happened with my wife. So, um, 2020, I'm a widower. I'm still a single dad. Um, and so that was about 5 years ago. So now I'm, as of last year, kind of coming out of my dark place and kind of dedicating myself to other bigger things to the community and to artists. And last January, February, I made the conscious decision to take myself out of retirement and start creating again. And now I'm here talking to you. So,
Oh my gosh. So, first of all, thank you so much for sharing some vulnerability with me as well. Obviously, it was 5 years ago, but it was only 5 years ago. And I can only imagine how that process was, what that transition was like, and also the loss of someone so near and dear. So, I'm sorry for that. And I'm glad that you're
well,
here.
thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm much better now. Just scroll
Yeah.
through my Instagram and you'll see like I look way worse 5 years ago than I do now.
Well, I think you look
I
great.
was a hot mess for a few years. So
I think that's totally appropriate and justifiable, personally. Yeah. And also, regardless of life events, who wasn't a hot mess closer to 2020? Let's be
yeah,
so for real.
fair
Like,
enough.
that was kind of the era for all of us to kind of
Yeah.
lose some kind of grip, you know? Okay. So, two, if we will, where in that did you get involved with all those creative?
Oh, okay. Okay. So sorry, I
We
skipped
missed
that.
a piece.
Yes. All right. So around go back. We can go back in time. Around 2018, 2019.
Mhm.
Um, uh, as my daughter was getting older, I was feeling, well, I should be able to be more creative.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't working with me. So I had been creative in the sense that, okay, no, we actually need to go back to 2014. Okay, so um, I get the itch to be creative again. I start playing with Blender. I start tinkering
Yeah.
a lot, and I start a blog of all my tinkering, and it's focused around just a project a week for a year, right? Now, and what ended up happening was like, yes, there were CG renders. There was also like tinkering with a lot of electronics creatively, building robots, building gadgets, stuff like that. And then as my daughter got old enough, she wanted to join a robotics team with First Robotics, which you should look up. It's a really wait, you were a First Robotics team,
No,
right? No?
no, I was
Okay.
not. But I'm gonna link it.
Okay. Yeah, First Robotics, Oklahoma. And she joined each through the years, she's been on each age level for the robotics team. So they have one going all the way to like grade school, like second grade
Yeah.
to high school. Um, and so I became a mentor for that, but I still wasn't feeling I was being as creative as I wanted to be.
Sure.
So I started going to what was called uh, the AIGA, the American Institute for Graphic Arts chapter here in Oklahoma. And I was all going to all the events. And they at some point they asked me to join the board because I was at all the events anyway. It was it was the president at the time. It was who was the president at the time? It was McKenna and Kayla were the Michaela was the vice president. And so yeah, McKenna Sanders and Kayla Bizombo. I had just met them and I kept confusing their names. I kept calling them both Michaela. So I just call them the Michaelas now.
Word.
But they've asked, so the previous president asked me to join. I wasn't interested. Then they asked me to join a couple more times. The third time is when they convinced me to join, and it was more out of logic than anything. It's like, you're at all the events anyway. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's fair. So, the number of times I have lost an argument to logic from a woman is like,
Pretty impressive.
yeah,
I don't expect it to end.
it's how I ended up married, really. Uh,
So that's wild.
yeah. Yeah, present something to me logically and I'll lose. Um, so anyway, at some point the national level of AIGA um wanted to shift more towards the focus towards designers graphic designers and marketing and branding people
Okay.
specifically.
Yeah.
We were open to all creatives, and they were also taking our membership dues and giving us an allowance on like, so we had to like, we want to have this event. And they were like, well, tell us what the event's about and we'll tell you how much money we'll give you. So
Sure.
that control was no longer in our hands.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we had a meeting and we were like, do we really need AIGA? Because we're just a brand to them. We're just a chapter. We're the organization. We pay for all our own events through our own membership deals. So we made a decision. It's like, all right, we're out. So we reformed. This was so we. I joined the board. So I started surrounding myself with those creatives in around 2018, 2019. Went into COVID. 2021, I started going back. We started having socials again as AIGA.
Yeah.
I joined the board, and then not long after, not long after that, 2023, we started talking about separating,
Okay.
and we all agreed. And so I spent the next year and a half showing up at every social event that I could outside of AIGA and making it known that we were going to form a new organization and people should be interested and come to our launch party. We unofficially launched April of 2024,
Oh, wow.
because Adobe heard we were forming something and wanted to partner with us.
Oh, cool.
So
Okay.
they co-hosted an event with us and we got a big draw just because Adobe.
Adobe.
Then we wrapped up that. And then we spent the summer reorganizing, trying to figure out like bylaws, how we're going to legally separate from AIGA. And then we had an official launch last year of August,
Okay,
last
so this
season.
is relatively new.
Yeah. So
Congrats.
yeah, so this we've done our first year, and uh, so it's one event every month all the way to May. So
That's so exciting.
yeah, we had I think Kayla, what would she say? I think the numbers are we had a total of 1,800 um, attendees throughout the year for
Okay.
our events, wrapped up with over 100 members, uh, paid members in the organization, and so we've got enough funding and sponsorships to start to do another launch party and start a new year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I think that's so amazing that you guys have grown and after so recently, like removing and like restructuring a little bit. I think that's really amazing.
Well, I mean, we already had a linchpin on the design and branding community.
I mean, yeah.
And and to be fair, a majority of our events this year are also still designers and branding kind of situations. We are pivoting away from it. We this October we're having a film-centric event, focused primarily on not film industry because that's not necessarily what we are. We are focused, since we are focused on community, we are focused on filmmaking community, which is filmmaking industry in Oklahoma and film community in Oklahoma are not the same thing.
Okay.
Um, just so because some people are working, some people are not, and right now a lot of people aren't working, but there's still a community making movies out there. Um, and I think that's pretty indicative of Oklahoma filmmakers. Well, if they need to make something and say something, they'll find a way to make it happen.
So, with all of that being said, I want to go backwards a little bit and I
Okay.
want to talk about why you wanted to compose initially. What drew you to composing? What did you enjoy about that?
First and foremost, I've always been a musician.
Hmm.
Um, I played guitar before I joined the choir. Um, did the standard garage band kind of thing. Cover songs like Led Zeppelin, stuff, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
And then so and I was very deep into music theory in high school.
Hmm.
So it made sense that if I was going to go to anything after any kind of study after high school, it was probably going to be music.
Yeah.
Initially, it was going to be I was going to be a music teacher. Um, then I did one substitute teacher gig and realized the kids that I didn't like when I was in high school, I still don't like, and surprisingly, those kind of kids are still there. So it's like maybe that's a teacher should probably like the kids
Takes
that
a
they
special
teach.
kind of person, you
Yeah.
know?
So I was like, not for me. So I refocused into composing for movies. It's like, well, that's something I would be interested in.
Yeah.
But like I said, there was no real program, so I had to like design my education around a program that didn't exist. So,
Yeah. And what drew you to movies? Because movies seem to be an inspiration.
man, really if you look at movies that like made heavy impressions on me, it was always like the score setting the tone for the movie.
Mm,
Um, Raiders of the Lost Ark, like John Williams in general, like uh, with the recent Superman release, I've gone back and watched the original Christopher Reeves, Richard Donner movie. That score sets the tone. I mean, it's a long opening credit scene.
yeah.
That score sets the tone for the entire movie. Um, so like every time he comes out, he's like, dun, 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 dun. It's like, oh, Superman's back on screen.
Yeah.
Um, all the Star Wars scores, James Horner, fantastic. One of my favorite, not John Williams, composers. Uh,
Good category.
yeah, he did he did Star Trek Wrath of Khan, he did Aliens, he did all these great scores. Again, setting to it's I consider film score part of the sound design,
Hmm.
and it impacts the movie in a very specific, unusual way, or it can. Lately, I haven't seen it in a whole lot of movies. Just it's more um, not my taste of score in movies lately. But yeah, when it's done really well, really impact. Like everyone knows the Back to the Future. Bum, bum, bum. That's Alan Silvestri.
Hmm.
Everyone recognizes that,
Yeah.
and if you watch that movie as part of the sound design, that doesn't appear until like almost an hour into the movie.
Yeah. You wait a while.
Yeah, you wait a long time. The score doesn't really kick in until that DeLorean is barreling towards Doc Brown and Marty McFly at 88 miles an hour. And then
Absolutely.
that's when the score kicks in. And so like and then you're in for a ride and it sets the tone for the rest of the movie after that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I wanted to be that kind of person, but I just never I just anymore I just score for my projects.
And I think that's just as well. You
Yeah.
clearly ended up where you needed to be, and you've got spoons in like seven different pots, and you've gotten a good taste of nearly everything. So I think that's solid, personally.
Yeah.
Now, I want
Yeah.
to hear in terms of, because you had experience in so many different creative formats with, this dream and then it branched out into so many different things. I want to know how you define creativity and why it's important in your life.
Creativity is just an expression of it's just an expression. It could be absolute nonsense, which I'm kind of prone to. Um, just absolute sense. But it's also an expression of happy,
Yeah.
joy, sadness, rage. You Punk rock's kind of making a comeback because of like all the moral outrage. Love it. I think it's a fantastic.
Poignant.
Uh, but yeah, it's just a human need to express yourself. Um, and what's interesting about that is through the expression, people who witness the expression can feel seen. And the effect that can have on people to can change a person's entire day or an entire month or um, one of the hardest things being an outsider or being feeling alone is you're feeling like you're not seen. And then when someone comes along and presents a piece of work or an expression or says something or gives a speech that makes you feel seen, that can change your entire outlook and that can lead to influence. I mean, one of the biggest problems we've got right now is we're talking past each other. We're not opening ourselves up to influence from each other. We're just, looking for the mic drop moment in an argument.
Yeah.
We're not really listening to each other. We're just like looking a way to shut someone else down, but we're not listening. And I think whenever you focus more on expression, when you focus more um, on things that you have expressing feelings, silliness, outrage, you can make other people feel seen. And if you're really lucky, you can influence other people. And if you're really lucky, you can maybe inspire them and maybe get people to start really sitting down and talking to each other. Um, I was focused on a while for just getting content out um, on my socials,
Hmm.
and um, then February happened, and a lot of things um, sort of made me realize is like I need to be not prolific, but maybe profound. And maybe that starts with me just expressing myself. Because I coming out of a really dark place over the last 5 years. And as I'm coming out of this dark place, this abyss that just sort of just for a long time was just draining me of a lot of willpower and happiness. Um, I noticed the people around me were starting to feel demoralized and hopeless,
Yeah.
and didn't understand why I was taking such an active role with all those creative. And I, I think it's because I can't coming out of the dark place myself and seeing people go into that dark place. I just can't. I feel like I can't let that happen without saying something, without expressing myself. Um, there's a deep sense of hopelessness, and uh, there's a question of what can creativity really do to help that hopelessness. And creativity, you know, it comes from like I said, our expression, but also our imagination. And if you look at like um, places of faith, um, what the idea that you believe something that is intangible, whether it's religion, whether it's God or love or philosophy, it starts with your ability to imagine a better world. So, as far as I'm concerned, hope starts with imagination. And maybe the best way for me to be more profound is to start using my imagination and expressing myself. Too deep?
No,
I got kind of deep there.
that was perfect.
Sorry, I've had a lot of time to reflect. So,
I know that much. I know that much. No, I think that's beautiful. And I think that you answered much more than I asked, frankly, for both yourself and our world. And I completely agree with you. And I appreciate your perspective in terms of, why did I take on leadership, it wasn't just because you were logically argued into a position by a woman. It was because it gave you a way to amplify your voice to say something and to
Well, and
say,
like I said, I was been working my way out of a dark place, and
absolutely.
there were days where I just didn't have the energy to get out of bed. I didn't have the willpower to live. Can you do something about the dog? Okay. Yeah, so there were days that I couldn't do that, and it's easier to get out of bed when you're doing it for something bigger than yourself. So I always kind of like if I see someone like have struggling, I always kind of it's like, get involved with something,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I feel so, admittedly, I feel so strange attempting to draw it away from that. I was going to ask you, why do you think the arts are important to the world? Do you have anything additional to add to that? Because I feel like you answered that question.
Yeah, I mean, arts, like I said, it's part of our community. It's
Yeah.
yeah, and our community is expressive. And I'm not just kind of making this up as I go along. There's actually Dr. Robert Putnam wrote the book Bowling Alone, and he's got decades of statistical data about community engagement, and it is really about like getting involved with things with something, you know, Shriners Club, Girl Scouts of America, Boy Scouts of America,
Yeah.
um, whatever not for profit you have, First Robotics,
Yeah.
tons of that. Um, as we see a decline of that kind of engagement, we see a decline in community engagement. We see a decline in our ability to influence each other,
Yeah.
which is key to finding like some middle ground.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like what is the thing? So, like, if our launch party is the 28th, let me double check on that. Launch party, seasonal launch party.
Yeah. August 28th is what you said earlier.
Yeah, August 28th. Double check on my calendar. October. No. Yeah, August 28th. So that's our seasonal launch party. Um, you know, last year we almost had 200 people in attendance, and that's 200 people, creatives or interested in creatives,
Yeah.
all together in one room. That's a powerful thing. Okay. Michael Bloomberg spent, what was it, $6 billion on political memes. I don't know if you've seen the Superman movie with the monkeys typing on social media.
Yes.
That's what he spent his money on.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all designed to keep us separated.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like 100, 200 people in a room focused on just one general interest is a powerful thing because we're not talking about our walks of life. We're not talking about our religion. We're not talking about our politics. We're talking about the thing that we care about
Yeah.
in person, happy, laughing, getting to know each other. We know where our lines are when we talk to each other in person. Um, and, like I said, if we're really, really lucky, we start to influence each other and start talking about the real important stuff and not the rhetoric.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll be at the launch party.
Oh,
I don't know about you, and I don't know about anybody watching this, but I'll be at the launch party.
would love to have you.
Absolutely. Well, I have another question for you along the lines of what you just mentioned, specifically as someone who is arguably at the forefront of trying to continue to bring community together, especially through creative means and creative community. I don't have to repeat that we're in a dangerous time for the arts as a whole. But I will. What do you, how do you think, based on your own experience, people can get involved who wouldn't necessarily consider themselves a part of the traditional creative community, what would you say to that person?
I would say if you're looking for change,
Mhm.
join something. Join a book club, join a bowling league, get involved, meet other people, try to friend other people and let them friend you. Get to know. Like, I don't know if you noticed, like with when I met you and your friends, I was asking very specific questions to get to know all of you.
Yeah.
So that like if someone came along and I was like, have you met Autumn? She was in this movie. She played this part. It was their capstone.
Yeah.
They all worked on it creatively. Um, yeah. I was able to really enter to the point, be able to introduce you to other people. Um, but yeah, get involved and meet people and bond with those people and bridge out to other communities, other clubs, other circles.
Yeah.
Um, these what's going on right now is people at the top with all the power and the money trying to control everything from the top down, as if it's their power is some kind of trickle down economy.
Right.
And it's working, right? They are focused on social media, they're focused on the narrative, they are controlling the narrative. The
Yeah.
only way to fight back with something like that is very much similar to the way we fought back on it after the Age of Enlightenment, in the late 1800s, early 1900s, when where there's never been a bigger disparity in the United States.
Yeah.
And that was like, I can't get up there. Let's get together and form a club and look out for each other. And that community engagement led to a more moderate political climate.
Mhm.
So if you really want to affect change, get involved in something. Do it for fun. Do it for a passion project if you want to. Get involved with helping. There's organizations to help the homeless if you want a sense of purpose. You know, um, bond and bridge and inspire.
Mhm.
That's my personal mission. Um, and honestly, when you do something like that, when you've got people at the top trying to control people from at the bottom, from the top down,
Yeah.
the only way to really fight back against something like that is to build something new that they don't control.
I couldn't agree more. Spitting such wise words. Okay. That's that's all I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Recap. All those creative Oklahoma City launch party August 28th.
Yeah.
Be there
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah, the website is allthosecreative.org. It's
Putting it
going to
in
be,
text right here.
yeah, it's going to be at the Contemporary Arts Center.
A great building.
Yes. That was the hub for Dead Center. If for all the filmmaker friends out there that are watching this. And yeah, looks like it's 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
6 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's a pretty wide range to be there.
Yeah. Oh, bonus for people that were interested in already joining all those creative, we call it ATC. For those interested in joining ATC, we're offering a special one night only discount on the season event pass memberships, but only for party guests. So
When is that?
you have to show up for
Oh,
it.
my word. August 28th. It's going to be hopping, and I'm going to do everything I can to promote and cross promote and do all the things.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Don't go yet.
Okay.
But thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.